Okay, today we're gonna check out my modded Empire axe. It's a full-size axe. I know some of you have asked, what can I put my axe in since it only comes with a cardboard box. I have mine in a Proto case or die case if you can get one. They're the same exact thing. Proto case, usually they're like $20 or less. It's actually not bad considering you can keep your axe in here. As you can see, I have it zippered and no bulges. Actually fits rather nicely in here. So here's my axe. It's all strapped, velcroed in. Have my barrel in there. 14-inch CP 2-piece. As you can tell, Dynasty tip fits in there perfectly fine. Keep your lube in there. The only thing you're probably not going to be able to get is the actual stock box that came with the axe. Obviously it won't fit in here, but if you can get a small plastic container, you can essentially store your essential O-rings that you would need, the dynamic O-rings on the axe, just as a spare on the field in case you need it. The rest of the stuff that came in the box you generally won't really need on the field, or that you're going to really have any space to service it anyway. So we're going to check out my mod that I have on my axe. What I've done with my axe, I have the Redline installed. As you can see, the standard Shockwave board, or if you haven't gotten the updated board, the Shockwave board essentially has all the same features as the Redline. But if you're lazy like me, don't like to count blinky lights, and rather just see, get instant readouts, it works very well. Tells you if your eyes are working, your battery level, gives you peaks and averages. It has a few other features that the LED board won't give you, but if you can spare the $200, it's worth the upgrade. The finger grooves on here, not, to me, really not that big of a deal. I don't really feel it as much, but we move on. What I've done with my bolt is I've done what has been known on the internet as the Lurker bolt mod. Essentially, it is a Lurker bolt that I install on here, which is the actual Lurker bolt. Very, very light. And this is the actual important mod to the Lurker bolt, is this clam spacer. I have the updated version, which is a 2-piece, which is a nicer spacer than the previous one, which you had to slide over. The 2-piece makes installing much easier. And on here I have installed a 016 urethane, and then back behind it are two 014 urethane O-rings. The middle one essentially is to keep the clamshells together. The first one creates a seal for the bolt, and then the last one is to prevent any air getting under the clamshell or the spacer or behind the spacer. On my bolt guide, I have the front two are stock O-rings on the axe. My back one, I'm actually using a 012, which creates a nice snugger seal for the bolt. What I've tried before was I had the 3 stock O-rings on here, and essentially the problem I was getting was it was too loose, and because it was too loose, I wasn't getting the velocity as well. So when you put the bolt on, it shouldn't fall off the guide. You should get a nice snug feel, but obviously not so tight where it's going to have to fight and you're going to get first shot drop off issues. The other thing I did was the poppit O-ring in here. I replaced it with a 012 urethane. I find it gives me much more consistent reading over the chrono. let me show you. The other difference is I have a Boss XSV bolt that I just got, and give you a little comparison between that and the Lurker. Lengthwise, they are essentially the same. There is a noticeable lighter feel to the Lurker versus the Boss. As you can tell, the Boss L-ring is a little thicker right in here, and the Boss bolt also uses 2 O-rings versus Lurker's 1. The other thing, this has been known as the Lurker mod, is the fact that, like the Boss bolt, there's an actual O-ring back here which sits where the spring would be, and there's a plastic O-ring that sits on top of it. What that does is it gives the little bit of a cushion on the forward, when the boat travels forward, gives it a little more of a cushion, so you get a softer shot feel, so you don't get that hard hit. What I've done with mine is I have a plastic, what's could be known as a square O-ring. It's a 016 right in here, and I have a normal Buna O-ring. It's an 016 also, so I slide it, spaced it back here, slide my 016 square O-ring on top of it. The reason you don't want to do 2 Buna is a normal Buna is too soft, so when the spring sits on top of it, it's going to kind of mush, and you don't want it to get bind. Having a square, harder O-ring will give it a kind of a platform where the spring can sit without squishing it, but you still get the soft feel of the regular Buna O-ring. So when the boat travels forward, get a little more cushion. Now the beauty of this setup is the whole idea of the Lurker bolt system is this spacer creates a little air pocket which softens the recoil of the bolt on the way traveling back. So now you're going to get a little cushion going forward and a cushion going back, so essentially you're going to get a nice soft shot. So put all that back in, close it up, and that is my modded axe. We'll follow up with some chrono readings and see how well it shoots. The other thing people may ask is, I keep my velocity screw just to start off with at 1.5 turn out. Some people wonder, what does that mean? Essentially what you want to do is flush it, turn it in where it pretty much can't turn in anymore. Do 1 revolution, 1.5 revolution. So that would be my start off point. So I have 1.5 out. Okay, we're going to do a shooting test with the my modded axe with the Redline and the Lurker bolt installed. As we're going to try it out, I have my OPs about 160, 165. I don't know if you can see that. My dwell is set at 5. I don't know how well you can see that in the sun. It's set at 5 right now. So we're going to chrono it and see what we get. 291. 294. 286. 288. 292. 284.
288. Granted, this paint's not the best paint, but you get the idea. It's pretty consistent. It's cheap paint that got from Sports Authority, but it shoots well. It's got a nice sound to it. Definitely a little quieter than your stock axe bolt. So there you have it.